Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Troy. Looks like we are up and running and recording and ready to go.
Great. Thank you, Troy.
This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome, everyone, to our special business meeting for Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022. I want to thank you all for being with us this afternoon, early evening. We know it's been a long day. We did have a business and land use meeting that went a little bit long, so thank you for your patience. If you'll all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Attorney Ingalls, do we have certification of today's agenda?
We do, Mr. Chair. My office has reviewed the item on today's agenda, and it meets legal approval.
Thank you, Mr. Ingalls. And do any commissioners have disclosures for any items on this agenda today?
I do not.
No, sir.
And I have none either. With that, we'll move to item 2 of our regular agenda for today, which is item 2A, a resolution calling for an election on the extension of the existing sales tax and use tax imposed for parks, trails, historic resources, and open space for the allowance of multi-year intergovernmental agreements with municipalities wholly within the county for sharebacks of such tax and for such additional changes as described herein. And who do we have presenting for staff?
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Jay Sage, and I'll be making the opening comments for the Douglas County Open Space Initiative. Commissioners, what I'm prepared to do is talk about the 10 top factors of why you should approve this resolution, but given the time crunch today, I'll cut that down to 4. But actually, Commissioners, I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about the public citizens who've been involved in this process. Out in the audience is Brian O'Malley. Brian and I had been talking about extending the sales tax for years. And finally, when we got the gumption to say, let's do something, let's get going, we realized how hard it is to get going on a project like this. And that's when we found out in Douglas County, there's a godfather of parks, trails, and open space by the name of Mark Weston. Mark Weston called me and said, Jay, have you talked to the dynamic duo who are sitting right here? That's Jennifer Drybread and Mickey Thomas. And ever since we've had them on board, our organization has been running wonderfully. And let me digress for a minute, Commissioners, and talk about 28 years ago in 1994 when this was a topic before County Commissioners, and there's 4 key individuals who are involved on the executive committee: John Farloff, Jennifer Drybread, who's here, Mickey Clark, and Mark Weston. So from 28 years ago, the 4 organizers are still all here. And for the record today, I just wanted to read off the names of the people who have been involved on our committee, really for the love of parks, for the love of trails, and for the love of open space, and really for the love of Douglas County. Toby Levy, Peter Bierbaum, Jim Guerra, Kathy Shandro, Inger Hiller, Patty Hofstadler, Sydney Macy, Cheryl Matthews, Laddie Familias, Dave Watts, and Jared Taylor. Now let's get to the key points. Well, actually, Commissioners, I think I'm forgetting someone. I'm forgetting our Indiana Eagle Scout, Steve Bowen, who's right here. What staff has said is they've spent more time the past 2 weeks with Steve Bowen than they've spent with their own family. So, Steve, thank you for everything you've done. Now, let's get to the 4 top reasons why this is important for you to decide to vote on. Our committee has talked to stakeholders, the stakeholders being historic preservation. And we're proposing for the first time ever a separate line item with funding for historic preservation. And I personally are interested to learn more about the culture and history of the Native Americans that lived here. Jennifer Drybread has done a tremendous job with the municipalities. So we've got 5 municipalities who've agreed and given us letters of support for the Shareback program. And for the first time ever, we'll include Castle Pines and Lone Tree. So we've talked about historical preservation municipalities. Let's talk about the open space program itself, something I volunteered for 26 years. For the first time ever, we'll have a separate line item for acquisition, so we'll be able to continue and preserve lands, which are so important for the environment. As well, some consternation I had was maintenance going to be decreased? Well, maintenance will be kept whole, so that we know for the next 15 years, someone who's on a property now will be maintained that way for the next 15 years. And then our friends over at Parks, and for me, learning more about Parks was interesting because they have a heavy lift. Everything they do is so capital intensive, but there's increased funding for Parks for the capital intensive programs. Now, throughout the organizing committees, I'd go home and actually my wife, God bless her, would say, you're a little frustrated, aren't you, today? I said, yeah, I am. And she said, well, think of 1969, the Rolling Stones. These lyrics, which I'm not going to sing them because you'd probably vote against the measure if I did sing. But here's what the Rolling Stones says. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, well, you might get what you need. So did every stakeholder get what they wanted? No, but I feel confident in saying we've got what we need. Commissioners, moving on, last year you did polling, which was very successful. Polling that you did last year to extend the sales tax passed by 70%. Commissioners, we have momentum. We have momentum of the people. We almost need a bigger conference room. And I know there's momentum because the wildest thing happened to me on Saturday when I was at the Douglas Land Conservancy fundraiser. Two people came up to me and said, Jay, let me know when we're ready to campaign because this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in my neighborhood, I'm going to knock on doors. Well, commissioners, you've run campaigns before, and when you have people willing to canvass, that speaks for itself. Then lastly, commissioners, let me talk about financing. We have a budget in place. We have a campaign strategy in place. Actually, we have checks that are written and signed, but dated August the 24th. Mickey just needs to pick them up tomorrow. But they said you can have the checks, and we have a lot of funding already in place as long as this is on the ballot. So that's imperative for why all the reasons above we ask you to support our measure. Commissioners, let me introduce our next speakers. I'll do them both at the same time. Rye Austin will speak first. He's from the Malone Family Foundation. And he'll be followed by Eric Glenn from the Cattlemen's Trust. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Sage. Rye?
Commissioners, thank you for having us today. My name is Rye Austin. I'm the Executive Director of the Malone Family Land Preservation Foundation. The benefactors of the foundation are great land conservationists. They own a lot of land all across the country. And I've got to tell you that one of the pieces that they are most proud of is right down the road at Greenland Ranch. It is an incredible example of what can be done when you bring together organizations like Douglas County, the Conservation Fund, and John and Leslie Malone to wind up creating an opportunity not just for open space, but also for parks. And I think anybody who drives down I-25 can see that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts when they pass through that open space with public access on one side and an operating ranch on the other, that I don't know anybody who doesn't take a deep breath when they hit that expansive I-25. Our hope is that as you go forward and as the county goes forward, that the county will continue to work with the citizens, both to provide open space or parks for the public, but also open space that has unique benefits to ecology, to biology, and quite honestly, to every citizen of the Front Range who receives benefit of open vistas, landscapes, and the feeling of what this state was and still is in terms of operating ranches, agriculture, and otherwise. So, the county was enormously crucial to the protection of that property. The $10 million that the county brought to the table for that transaction is really what made it happen, what brought it across the finish line. I think we all recognize that. The county continued to provide enormous leadership through the Douglas County Conservancy for the nearly 20 years that they were our partner in holding the conservation easement on that property. So I want to thank the county for all of that. I think, my hope is that there will be additional properties as we go. We've seen Douglas County acquire additional incredible properties through this program, and it would be a shame to see that stop again, not just for the citizens of Douglas County, but for the citizens of the Front Range and our great state. So thank you for your time. We're excited for the future of this program and hopeful that it'll continue along the same lines.
Thank you, Mr. Austin. Eric Glenn?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you on this important matter this afternoon. My name is Eric Glenn. I am a resident of Douglas County. I also have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director of the Colorado Cattlemen's Agricultural Land Trust, which is a recipient and partner of the Douglas Parks, Trails, and Open Space program and its funding. Over the history of CCALT, which dates back to 1995, we have worked with private landowners to conserve over 700,000 acres of working, productive agricultural lands and all the other benefits and byproducts like wildlife habitat, scenic views, open space that come with production agriculture across the state. In Douglas County, we hold easements on 6 properties, including the Greenland Ranch now and Prairie Canyon Ranch. That total about 21,500 acres. When I think of Douglas County and why I chose to live here, why I choose to raise my family here, it's because of quality of life. And quality of life starts in this state and in many others with a definition of open space, of a definition of being able to invest in our natural resources, not just for today's generations, but for future generations. The mission of the Colorado Cattlemen's Agricultural Land Trust is to conserve Colorado's Western heritage in working landscapes for the benefit of future generations. And I ask each of you today to make a decision, a hard decision sometimes, to invest in the future, to invest in those future generations so that they have places to enjoy and be inspired. And that is what open spaces, that's what trails, that's what recreation allows us to do. It's to allow us to have a healthy, well-balanced life. It's to allow us to have a strong economy, and it's allow us to be inspired and to be creative by those unbounded open spaces that inspire us and have inspired generations before us and will inspire generations to come. So I urge you to support referring this measure for extension of the parks, trails, and open space to the November ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for your leadership. And then we have Commissioner Steve Bowen.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Steve Bowen, 5761 Lower Twin Creek Road, Castle Rock, Colorado. This is an exciting day. We have worked hard to move and evolve this open space tax fund from one that was spent 70% on open space in the past, 30% on parks, to a 50-50 partnership with a brand new program funded for historic preservation. Each of our main funding sources will receive $8.59 million in 2024 if the resolution and the ballot initiative move forward. Parks and open space will share the money at 48% each. We will then have a solid allocation for historic preservation. And I know that has to be an exciting transition. We funded historic preservation in past years, a little bit here, a little bit there, some over here. I know I played a part in that, but you will have the option to bring the program forward as it should be for Douglas County. As was already mentioned by Jay Sage, this is the first time that we'll have a specific allocation for open space acquisitions. We'll also be increasing the municipal share back from less than 14%, which was received over the past 27 years, to 20% now. That will help our municipal partners move forward with the urban amenities that are needed for the residents who populate the northern portion of the county. They want soccer fields, they want ball fields. I get it, I was a dad too. I understand that we need to fund those amenities. Right now, 44% of the municipalities 44% of the population of the county resides in municipalities. That will evolve over time to become ever greater, and therefore the importance of adding Castle Pines and Lone Tree to this partnership and funding it at a higher level than we historically have done. There will be challenges with this. The resolution allows for transfers of funds, but I believe we can work through that. We all have a fiduciary duty to make sure that the money is well spent as the voters direct. We, as the people of the county of Douglas, will be working with you. You're the primary fiduciaries, but we also have oversight with the COSAC, Parks Advisory Board, and Historic Preservation Board. And I think this partnership will be one that will last us well into the future. Thank you for consideration of the resolution. We look forward to campaigning hard for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you for your leadership. With that, we have Lawrence Falter.
Thank you. I'm Lawrence Falter. I live at 194 South Whitetail in Franktown. I support this resolution. Now, people know me, knowing I usually do not support tax increases. But this one, I know what we're getting. One, it's going back to the people and let democracy rule. It's a resolution to be put on the ballot. Second, it supports parks, historical sites, and open space. And that's exactly what we need here. And we need to counterbalance the reputation of Douglas County, which is one of rapid growth. And right now, for years, we have been the fastest growing county in the United States. And we need to have more open space. There's a continuing problems in the whole western states for water and transportation. And we need to address some of these issues. And I urge your support for this resolution. I think it will help the county. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lawrence. And then we have Jennifer Drybrand.
Good afternoon, Jennifer Drybrand for the record, 82 Falladew Road, Franktown. I have served on the board of DCOSI, the Douglas County Open Space Initiative, and have acted in the capacity of the municipal liaison for that group. We've held a total of 8 meetings over the past few months with staff, with elected officials from the towns of Castle Pines, Castle Rock, Larkspur, Lone Tree, and Parker. These are the municipalities that are located wholly within Douglas County, and that is a kind of carryover from the 94 resolution wanting to work with and provide sharebacks for those municipalities. It was important for DCOSI from the get-go to make municipalities whole, just like it was Steve mentioned, and with any extension, and that is to say, even with the addition of 2 municipalities, Lone Tree and Castle Pines, the existing municipalities get at least the same, if not about $500,000 more for the total share back. So we have worked to make that whole. We felt that was very important. We've also developed a much more simplified share back formula and allocations, as you're well aware. And for the municipalities, they'll receive a 20% share back of total funds for them. We've also taken the county out of the municipal sharebacks. That was kind of a situation that's gone on since '94, but we felt that it should be simply for the municipalities. The change that we're proposing actually results in about a 6% increase over the average, historic average annual funding. And we recognize in meeting with the municipalities that this really is important funding for them. They rely on it for parks. They've helped preserve open space areas. They've helped extend trails. They've worked in partnership with the county, and they are very supportive of this. So I just want to present for the record the 5 letters that we received from those municipalities, and want to thank you for your consideration tonight, unless you have any other questions.
Ms. Tribred, thank you for your leadership and hard work on this. You can approach council and he can label those as an exhibit.
I'm going to label this Exhibit 3. It's got handwriting on it, calling it Exhibit A. The reason for that, I was tendered 2 exhibits before we started this hearing to get ahead of the curve from Gregory Miller, who has not spoken yet. I've already labeled those 1 and 2 for this hearing. These letters from Lone Tree will be labeled Exhibit 3 for today's hearing item. Actually, it's Lone Tree, Parker. Doesn't look like we have enough copies for everyone. It's letters from all the municipalities. It will be labeled Exhibit 3 for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Ingalls. With that, let's move to Justin Spring from TPL. Hi, Justin.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Justin Spring. I'm the Colorado State Director of the Conservation Fund. Wanted to speak briefly about partnerships, the value of partnerships. Since 1994, really the birth of this open space and trails and parks program, the Conservation Fund has been proud to be a partner here with Douglas County. Part of that reason is that we view Douglas County as a leader, both in Colorado and nationwide. You've heard speakers attest to the growth, the population growth here in Douglas County, and that is the very reason that we see a need to continue working here. If this program is extended, I see the county continuing to be a leader across the country with open space, parks, trails, and historic preservation. A little bit about the Conservation Fund and the county. Together, we have helped to protect over 41,000 acres since the mid-90s here in the county. That's both fee simple acquisitions and conservation easements, a tremendous amount for the Front Range. Those lands total a fair market value of over $151 million, non-adjusted for the finance people out there. Something I spoke to a few weeks ago and wanted to reiterate today, having local match is crucial in this day and age. Conservation, like many fields, is competitive. There's limited funding. And if the county continues to have a local funding source, it's going to give it skin in the game to compete for state and federal funding opportunities. Without that local match, I think the county will be at a significant disadvantage. Since 2010, the growth has been talked about already, but wanted to highlight since 2010, the county's in the top 50 or top 100 fastest growing counties in the country. And that's, something to think about. Folks often think about open space and parks as contrary to growth. We at the Conservation Fund do not feel that way. We really view these things as complementary. Parks, trails, open space, if done the right way, can complement growth. It helps raise our quality of life, which then drives growth into the future. So with that, I would like to strongly encourage your consideration of this referral. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Justin. Let's move to Patty Hosteller. And just for help to everyone here, we'll then go with Kim Ross, Aaron Nagel, Mickey Clark, and then Dan Kruger, if you want to make your way. Hi, Patty.
Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate you having me here this evening, and thank you for listening to all of us. I'm Patty Hosteller. I'm the outgoing Executive Director of Douglas Land Conservancy. We are a local land trust. As you've heard from many great partners in land trusts already, we reiterate the same message. Douglas Land Conservancy was founded in 1987. For the last 25 years, we've had the privilege of working directly in partnership with the county, holding conservation easements on properties that are funded by the open space sales tax. A couple of examples of those are Spruce Mountain Open Space, Lincoln Mountain Open Space, Dawson Butte Open Space, Hidden Mesa Open Space, and most recently Sandstone Open Space, just to name a few. Those provide great amenities to the public, and as you've seen, public access is a very important component of open space acquisitions, but also the scenic viewscapes that we protect, the wildlife habitat and corridors that we protect, the agricultural communities, and the native plant communities that all provide great benefit to all of the citizens of Douglas County and beyond. It's amazing to see how many people come from outside of this area to access these beautiful lands that the county has used open space sales tax to acquire, and the people that we benefit from those. And sometimes it's not the ability to access those, it's the ability to see those scenic viewscapes that have been protected between, Castle Rock and the county line to the south. And so that open space corridor and those viewscapes that have been protected by all of the partnerships that you've heard from today are imperative to creating this unique county that we are and preserving that unique character that we have, the buttes and the mesas that we have here that are unlike many other areas in the state of Colorado and very important for us to protect. Douglas Land Conservancy, working primarily in Douglas County, has protected 26,700 acres since 1987. And again, many of those properties have utilized the open space sales tax to help fund the acquisition of those properties or fund private conservation easements on those properties as well. We not only work in partnership with the county, but we also work in partnership with private landowners to provide needs that they need to preserve their land when maybe a family member can't continue to ranch their property, but they don't want to see that property be developed because of the unique character of that property. And so our organization is really focused on protecting that unique character, both within the partnership with the county, but with those private landowners that means so much to, and having that ability to, and having the opportunity to utilize some of the open space sales tax funds to help them preserve their properties down the road too. So with that, I just want to thank you for everything that you've all helped with and supported and done in the past, but encourage you to support this initiative so we can continue forward. And the more people that want to live here, the more people that we're going to have to provide access to all of these great spaces for. So future acquisitions of open space are very, very important for our county, and acquisitions for trails to connect all of those properties is just as imperative. So thank you.
Patty, thank you for that. Thank you for your remarkable leadership over so many years. Next, we have Kim Ross. Hi, Kim.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Kim Ross, 8780 Steeplechase Drive in Franktown. And I'm here as the Vice President of the Board of Directors for the Franktown Citizens Coalition, the FCC. And I'm going to present our views on this issue. So the FCC supports this resolution and would like to see it sent to the voters as a referendum as soon as possible. Our board did take time to make sure that we understood the balance that you've struck between allocations to parks and allocations to open space. Clearly, the Franktown Citizens Coalition has a strong interest in open space and what it can do to protect the rural character of our communities, such as the Franktown rural community. But we've had a chance to read the resolution in detail that you're considering this afternoon, and we believe that you've struck a good balance considering the entire needs of the county. So we do support the resolution as written. Of key importance to the FCC citizens and members is how open spaces can buffer, they can provide natural buffering between urban development and our rural communities such as Franktown and the others. A good example of this is what you can see as Hidden Mesa open space and Gateway Mesa open space provide a natural separation between the urban development of Castle Rock and Franktown and limit the amount of urban development that's running along Route 83. Having more open space development in and around our rural communities is going to help protect that rural character, which is what the FCC's mission is all about. So we do believe this is in line with our expectations and desires, and we just want to endorse this resolution and would love to see it on the ballot this coming fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Our best to our friends in Franktown. We certainly appreciate you being here. Aaron Nagel? Oh, and I'm sorry. You know what? Yeah, after Mickey, can you wait?
Commissioners,
yes?
Aaron Nagel is the Executive Director of the Colorado Rapids Youth Soccer Club, and he sends his regrets. He will not be able to attend. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Mickey? For the record, it's Mickey Clark.
Mickey Clark, 14 Borealis, Castle Rock. Thank you. Thank you for this process. It has been really actually a wonderful process. We think it's been very comprehensive and inclusive. I just have two things to say. Would everybody in the audience who's for open space please just stand up briefly? And we didn't actually even ask all these people to come, but we're thrilled that you're all here. That's number one. You can see we have a very strong grassroots support. Number two, for Lance, our website, several hundred people have signed up, and we would just like to put that on the ballot. You guys have heard everything from us. As the president of Douglas County Open Space Initiative, I want to ask for your consideration to please put this on the ballot so we can present it, let the people decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey. Thank you for your remarkable leadership as well. Now we have Dan Kruger.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Dan Kruger. I live in South Douglas County. I'm a native Coloradoan. When I first drove the roads from Fort Collins to, let's say, Colorado Springs and south, it was pretty much all open space, a two-lane highway, farms on both sides. Now, if you've ever driven up to Fort Collins lately, you see what's happened to all the open space up there. When I drive from Colorado Springs home and I go over Monument Hill across the county line, I gasp at the beauty and the vista that we have in South Douglas County. South Douglas County is the jewel of I-25 all the way, I believe, from the Montana border to El Paso, Texas. I am so thankful and grateful for the foresight and wisdom of a county leadership when this was done, what, some 28 years ago. That is amazing, and we must continue it. The job is not done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we have Catherine Bond and Brian O'Malley.
Mr. Chair, while they're coming up, the exhibit submitted by Ms. Clark is labeled Exhibit 4 for today's business meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Ingalls.
I'm
We
Catherine
have
Bond.
visual aids. All right.
Yes. I'm Catherine Bond. I'm part of a volunteer group that has been working with Parks and the Open Space Council to develop a facility to house 3 donated research grade telescopes that have been donated to the county. I think you've been briefed on this, but I was asked to bring the model to kind of show in person what such a facility could look like, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ma'am, thank you very much for that. Thank you for bringing that as well. I'm sure we'll have a lot of follow-up for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Mr. O'Malley?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Brian O'Malley. I live at 10561 Arrowhead Lane, Parker, Colorado. Also the chair of the County Open Space Advisory Committee. I want to first thank the Commission for all your time and effort you dedicated to us in terms of what we try to do and what we're trying to accomplish today. I'd like to thank the county manager and the county attorney and our budget directors online as well for all their efforts. They've been great help for us. We appreciate that very much. And I also want to thank the Douglas County Open Space Initiative for all their hard work. Meetings upon meetings upon meetings to get this right. And Commissioner Teal, I promise you today, no new numbers to present. But one thing we are presenting is a dedicated funding and of transparent funding. Commissioner Thomas has touched on this before, the importance of dedicated funding to make these programs succeed. All these funding mechanisms are straight line allocations now. They're very easy to understand, very transparent. Parks and Trails alone increases $5 million over present day budget. We also allocated, for the first time ever, historic preservation of $716,000 a year, which has never occurred before. So, as all good compromises, a good compromise is one that not all parties are completely happy with. But I will tell you today, we have a good compromise. It is your citizen-led County Open Space Advisory Committee recommendation that you approve this ballot resolution today. I want to thank you again for your past and present support for our parks, trails, and open space. And now today I get to thank you for our future support of parks, trails, historic preservation, and open space. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Mr. O'Malley, thank you, and thank you for your remarkable volunteerism for an incredible number of years. You know, that is everyone that has signed up on the list, and we did sort of skip to citizen comment. It sounds like much of that was the presentation from the Open Space Initiative. I would like to just turn to county staff to determine if there's anything additional from a language or presentation standpoint that you would like to provide clarity on.
Commissioner, I can provide whatever clarity the board may seek, but I thought it might be a good idea to at least summarize what would be in the ballot question the board would be submitting to the ballot this November if this resolution passes. It starts with the statement, without raising taxes. This is a tax extension, and according to the Colorado Supreme Court, that is not a tax increase, but it is an extension of an existing tax. It would extend the 0.17% sales tax for open space. It would be called the Parks, Trails, Historic Resources, and Open Space Sales Tax. And it would do a number of things it has always done. I can read those off to you. Also, the ballot issue would authorize the intergovernmental agreements, if that was the form of sharing back with the municipalities. Any municipality wholly existing within Douglas County would be eligible. It would also authorize other administrative changes that have been made to the tax. That has to do with the funding sources, the buckets as they've been referred to. So it does all of that. I can read any of this to you if it helps you, but that is what the ballot question is. That would be presented to the citizens on November 8th.
Mr. Ingalls, thank you for that excellent summary. I think that captures the essence of what we are trying to accomplish today, or at least consider today. Any questions for county staff?
No, sir.
Okay.
15 years. It would also be a 15-year extension.
Thank you for that clarification, and I have no questions either. So with that, let me go back to citizen comment, and I'm not sure if for anybody that did not sign up but would still like to speak or address the board today, now is your time to do that. You will have 3 minutes if you'd like to do that. I know that there are a number of folks here, so if you feel like your comments have already been stated, you don't need to comment if you would not like to, but we certainly welcome that at this time. Yes, sir.
My name is Ron Von Lemke, 73 Falcon Hills. I'm also chairman of Real Colorado. And I'd like to thank you for considering the resolution for the extension of the sales use tax to fund the parks, open space, and trails. And we support the resolution as written. We've heard a lot about folks from open space. All of my folks are frankly on your fields. I have about 2,000 families and players on your fields this afternoon practicing. And so I guess I'm speaking vicariously on their behalf. I did provide 2 reports to Mr. Ingalls. They were actually written by Greg Miller on behalf of Real Colorado. We put them together based in 2019 when we were thinking of putting together a Real Colorado Metro District. But the facts and figures still are applicable. And so I'd like to just go over them quickly in the time that I have. First, there was an analysis of the Southern Denver metro area for youth soccer. There's 7.7% of the children in Douglas County between ages of 6 and 12 are involved in youth soccer. The forecast is we're going to be increasing by 21.5% increase in youth soccer by 2040 due to demography growth and, interestingly enough, greater participation by the Hispanic community, which is we are forecasting to go from 37.4% to 50.6%. With a growth to about 8,500 players. Second, I also provided you an economic impact analysis. This was just on a single tournament that we hold. We hold it throughout the entire Denver area. but I can say that we would be giving a greater amount of that economic development if we had additional fields. But essentially, that one tournament brought in $20 million to $23 million in a 4-day tournament. This economic analysis does not take into account our weekends. I estimate between 2,000 and 2,200 players every weekend coming to Douglas County. This includes about 5,000 people if you include all of the parents, grandparents that come to Douglas County and they take advantage of buying gas, going to our restaurants, and going shopping. This is just for Real Soccer. This doesn't include other soccer clubs, baseball, etc. We appreciate and value our relationship with with Douglas County Parks. We also appreciate the fact that the commissioners should be the final arbiters on how the people's money is spent, so we appreciate that. We have 3,400 families residing in Douglas County, so I estimate about 7,200 immediate voters to support this referendum. Add in the grandparents, and the number easily reaches 10,000. And we have on our cell phones the ability on a daily basis to communicate with our players and families our support for this referendum. Thank you very much for your time. And I just barely made it.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Von Lemke. Thank you for being here with us. Yes, ma'am.
Exhibit 5.
Commissioners Layden, Teal, and Thomas, and Doug DeBorg and Lance Ingalls. Thank you for this opportunity to learn and discuss this most important problem. People come to Douglas County because of our quality open space. I'm
Ma'am,
president
would you mind
of the
stating your
West
name and where you're from
Plum
for the
Creek
record?
Alliance, and
Would you
we
mind,
have a
ma'am?
membership of over 100 households. We are
Ma'am, I
blessed
hate to
live in-
interrupt you, but could you state your name and where you're from for the record, please?
My hearing's really bad.
Oh, okay. If you could just state your name and where you're
Oh.
from. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That was going in a really great direction, I
Christine
could tell.
Hashimoto, 5112 South Perry Park Road, Sedalia.
Thank you very much.
But we're blessed to live in an area which includes Dawson Butte, Sandstone Ranch, Spruce Mountain, and Greenland Ranch. First of all, we support an extension of the open space tax ballot. Second of all, no monies from the open space coffers should be available to developers. Thirdly, I want to talk about the proposed ballot language. And I understand that the funds for open space are being cut to supplement parks and municipalities. And I understand that because parks have more visits than open spaces because they have athletic fields, playgrounds, and most of the population lives up north. But I want to recount what Jay said at the last meeting. He said, 20 years ago, a citizen came up to him and said, could you purchase a property for over $20 million? And he shook his head and thought, that's too much. But now we have that property as Greenland Ranch. And if you want to go big, you have to dream big. Douglas County is known for quality open spaces, not its municipal parks. However, the large rural open spaces are a great drawing card for people within and out of the county. Those residing in municipalities can appreciate the parks, but they also can go out in nature to the open spaces. In contrast, the rural residents rarely frequent the municipal parks. So I'd like to offer two suggestions to try to increase funds for open spaces. One is to create a loophole. So if an outstanding property becomes available, the proposed allocations of funds can temporarily be suspended so legacy can be acquired for the county. And can I keep going?
You have about 10 seconds. We'll give you a little more time to finish out.
And the second possibility is to have funds available for purchasing land would be budgetary. The designated funds for open space, if it were not used in one year, could be put in a fund or an account for open space, and each year, if it's not used, can be accumulated, and that would help with the funds that would be needed. But thank you very much.
Thank you, and we know you, Christine. We just had to get that established for the record. Thank you for being here with us. Are there any other citizen comments? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Dina McClung, and I actually live in Arapahoe County at 2777 South Xanadu Way in Aurora. I'm here to speak about the open space at Sandstone Ranch, which I've been enjoying quite a bit recently, as I'm also a volunteer astronomer that's involved with the project to establish an observatory there. And I want to make you know that you have a great asset there in terms of an incredible dark sky at the night there. This is a resource that's rapidly dwindling as a lot of homes are built, and I appreciate the fact that you're conserving not only open space, but dark open space. A lot of people don't realize this, but if you've ever gone to the International Dark Sky Association's website, you'll see that it's dwindling all over the place. And this could be a very attractive draw for people here and a very wonderful educational opportunity for people. Our mission as astronomers is purely to educate people. We don't do this for anything other than the education and appreciation of the sky and all of the things that it has to offer. I think it's wonderful that you've preserved this space, and we fully support this initiative to continue your sales tax to support the open space, and we hope that it brings you lots of out-of-county guests who will spend money in Douglas County and thereby also continue to support this as well. Thank you for the time for me to speak to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for being with us. Any additional citizen comment?
My name is Tammy Denhart. I'm Vice President of Burning Tree Ranch HOA, 8177 Burning Tree Trail, Franktown. I'm in support of this initiative because as long as the county is in the business of changing zoning to accommodate development and business, and with the total disregard in preserving the rural character of property and property owners in rural areas. The more property preserved from development and making sure that these areas are maintained is really the only way to help preserve the rural character of Douglas County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Denhart. Any additional citizen comment? Okay, Troy, do we have any citizens online?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioner. I have Steve Atkinson.
Okay.
You're unmuted. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, sorry. I no longer need to speak anymore. Thank you, Troy.
No problem. Thank you for being with us. Additional citizen comment online?
No, sir.
And that's it.
No other comments.
Okay. Well, with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or motion.
Well, I'll just kick it off. Thank you all for coming. Thank you very much for all the work that went into this. We met just yesterday to finalize the language and to go through everything. And I expressed to the team that was in, many of you who are here right now, that when the citizens group kind of came together earlier in the summer, I had some dissatisfaction. I really wanted to hear this brought forward by a citizens group before we ran out of time and had to consider it from the dais next year. And I expressed a little frustration that, gosh, is this really actually going anywhere? This feels sluggish. And then really at about the time I thought that, things suddenly started picking right up. And it's been fascinating to me, the way that we've been able to come together as a community, the way we've been able to come together, put our minds together, do the math, and run through the numbers and revise the numbers in order to get us this really what I think is a great model to move forward, and more specifically, a wonderful ballot option to put before the people of Douglas County. And let them choose. Let them choose the future that they'd like to see. I lost track of the gentleman that talked about, the area south of Castle Rock going down to Monument. Yeah, that is the most gorgeous area, the whole area along I-25. Absolutely. I've done that drive, starting in Montana and going all the way to El Paso County. And it is, yes, thanks to the foresight of our forebears, our predecessors, one of whom is actually in the audience right now. And then thank you, everybody who put in time on this, lent your voice, lent your hard work in order to, bring this to reality.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. Further commissioner comments?
Thank you, everyone, for being here and supporting this. We know that people come to Douglas County, they buy property here, they shop here because it is a unique county. And part of that is the open space experience, as well as the parks and the trails and historic preservations. When I first became a commissioner, we got in trucks and drove around the county and looked at not all, but a lot of the historic properties that the county owned. And I remember my grandma going out and showing me how to pick up arrowheads. And I'm thinking, my grandmother would have just loved this. And so that's what we're doing. We're preserving stuff for future generations. So thank you for being involved in this.
Well, today is a historic moment. Looking out into this crowd today, I can't tell you how deeply humbled and honored I am to be a public servant and to be before you and consider the legacy that each of you have left behind in this community. I'm going to take you back to 1994. In 1994, I was a senior at Niwot High School up near Longmont, and many people in this room were leading an initiative to preserve open space in this community. And when I look out and see Commissioner Steve Boand and Mickey Clark and Jennifer Drybread and Brian O'Malley and Jay Sage and Patty Hotstetler and so many of you that have committed your time and energy to preserving open space. When I finally got to Douglas County and started raising my 3 kids with my wife of 20 years in Highlands Ranch, now Lone Tree, I got Douglas County in really good shape. As a result of your heroism, your efforts, and your leadership, we have been able to preserve, in addition to our forested land and our federal lands, about 50% of Douglas County as preserved land, preserved open space. And that's a remarkable accomplishment that is due to your foresight. We often hear from citizens about the issues related to growth. We know 24 people per day are coming to Douglas County. And we know there are a lot of other municipalities and counties that would say, well, we just need to restrict developers. We need to stop development. I will tell you that we're here today because the development community was behind the original open space initiative and recognized and had the foresight that when you purchase land through private property rights, it only augments and increases values for citizens. And so we're thankful as well to the development community that has also stepped into the space and made Douglas County what it is today. We know that it is partnership through so many of you, and I'm looking out to our amazing staff and volunteers in open space. Thank you so much for being here with us, and Amy and Terrence and Steve. It really is a coming together of so many from parks, from open space. Steve reminds me often that we get 3 million visitors on an annual basis to our parks and about 5,000 event rentals. That's really significant. Our open space receives about 500,000 visits a year. That's massive. And we know from COVID that those recreational amenities and the services that provides for your physical health, your mental health and well-being are unparalleled. You all wouldn't be here today if you didn't know that and recognize that intrinsically. So again, for me, it's a historic moment. And I hope that, obviously when this goes into effect officially in 2024, that'll be 30 years from 1994. And maybe there is a 2024 high school grad that will be a commissioner someday that will be able to reflect upon the leadership that you all have demonstrated today. So with that, I thank you.
Well, if it pleases the board, I do have a resolution. I do have a motion. Let me start that again. If it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve a resolution calling for an election on the extension of the existing sales tax and use tax imposed for parks, trails, historic resources, and open space for the allowance of a multi-year intergovernmental agreements with municipalities wholly within the county for sharebacks of such tax and for such additional changes as described herein.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 3-0. Congratulations. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.